I'm going to admit something. I have not thought about Curt Schilling in a very long time. Well, first thing I want to say is that I have not done a Daily Octane video like this since... Geez, I don't think I even did one after the insurrection attempt at the Capitol building. But we're not going to get into that today. That's not at all what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Curt Schilling and the fact that my computer is making random noises. Again, I shoot this live, just record it and then upload it for you. But Curt Schilling in the news today. I did not expect to wake up and see that. A little bit of background. First of all, if you don't know who Curt Schilling is. Curt Schilling is a baseball player. He was a Major League Baseball player that retired several years ago, won the World Series very famously. He was a pitcher, and I'm going to tell you that as a diehard, lifelong Yankees fan, I was not a fan of Curt Schilling's. He beat the Yankees pretty good, very famously known as the Bloody Sock game. There is an image right there. You can see the blood stain that is right there on his sock, right in that area right there. He had surgery to repair a ligament, I believe, or could have been a tendon. I could have looked that up right now, but I didn't. But he had surgery to repair that, and it busted open while he was pitching. And famously continued to pitch as he was bleeding through his sock, went on to beat the Yankees, and then the Red Sox went on to win the World Series. That is definitely his claim to fame, as it were. The reality is that even during his time playing, and then for many years afterward, Curt Schilling has been a raging lunatic. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the same thing I normally mean when I talk about raging lunatics. He has very, very archaic conservative views, and he's not afraid to talk about them. Now, I have very progressive views, and I'm not afraid to talk about them. So really, we're kind of polar opposites, not very different, really, at the end of the day. But, I do believe that the language that comes out of people can be dangerous. And in this case, he has been a hardcore Trumper. I didn't even realize this. To be honest with you, I haven't paid attention to Curt Schilling on any level in a number of years. And as it come to find out, he's been on the Trump train like a lunatic. As a matter of fact, I went in and started perusing his Twitter page. And first of all, the guy is really a self-promoter. I mean, he does a lot of these live. He's live right now, as a matter of fact. But he does a lot of these live videos where he just talks and rants and, like a lot of, I mean, although here I'm doing it right now. But anyway, he goes on and on and on, and he is super conservative, mostly like socially conservative, which social conservatives, for the record, in case you didn't know this about me, social conservatives are the ones that I can't stand, right? I get it if you are fiscally conservative and you want a balanced budget and you want lower taxes and you don't want your tax dollars funding programs that you don't believe in, you know what? I can get behind that. I understand where you're coming from. I still think you're wrong, but I understand at least where you're coming from. But if you tell me, and first of all, he's a fan of Scott Baio, but if you tell me see right here, this nonsense. If you tell me that you don't believe that gay men and women have equal rights, if you tell me that, if actually one thing that he does is he expounds upon racist comments. He has lauded racist speakers and shared racist memes. He's the base of the current Republican Party. This hate-filled, non-PC, angry, just, like they want to go back to the Archie Bunker days. It's just ridiculous to me. And he's the epitome of it. And the thing is, it doesn't matter. I understand that people have their views, right? People are allowed to have their views. I get that. But you shouldn't, and I can't get behind people that have that level of a platform. Now, Curt Schilling hasn't been relevant in quite some time. But he still has a fan base. He still has a platform. And now, so what's happening now? And the reason why he's in the news is because he didn't make it to the Hall of Fame. Okay, you have 10 years. The reality of this escapes me, and I wasn't going to spend the time looking into it this morning, but I believe you cannot get into the Hall of Fame until you've been retired for 5 years, and then after that, there's 10 years that you're eligible to get into the Hall of Fame. And so this is now his 9th year of eligibility, and I think you need 75% of the vote, and I believe he received 71%. So what he did is he wrote a letter. And he's very proud of himself. He wrote a letter to the Hall of Fame, and I'll link it down in the comments below. I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but I will give you the gist of where it's at. Basically, what he says here is that he has a right to his opinions, and that he has been silenced for his opinions, and that it's bullshit, and here's the kicker: like a kid with his football, taking it and going home. He demands that he be removed from the ballot next year. He doesn't want to be a part of the Hall of Fame. Okay. That's fine, man. That is absolutely fine. You are 100% entitled to whatever you would like from the Hall of Fame. This was your professional baseball career. It's your opportunity to get into the Hall of Fame. And the reality is that you didn't get it because you got a big fucking mouth. You didn't get it because after the events of January 6th, when Donald J. Trump incited a riot and convinced his followers to commit insurrection, you lauded it. You applauded everything that happened. You said that it was nonsense that Trump was being blamed for it. You are on the wrong side of history, sir. You know, and you are entitled to believe that gays do not have equal rights. You are entitled to believe that Muslims are shit. You are entitled to believe whatever the hell you want to believe. But words have repercussions. And that's where we get into this argument that's going on right now. Everybody that is backing these conservative voices that are being targeted, properly targeted for their hate speech, everybody is decrying the First Amendment. Everybody's saying that their First Amendment rights are being trampled upon. They are not. You have a First Amendment right to speak your mind, meaning that you cannot be jailed for your words. You cannot be censured publicly for your words or punished in any way. Unless you are inciting violence, unless you are inciting insurrection. As long as your words do not limit somebody else's personal freedoms, you can say whatever the hell you want. You can say it wherever you want. But that does not protect you from the ramifications of your words. In addition, people are complaining about Donald Trump being removed from Twitter, and now My Pillow guy, thank God, being removed from Twitter. Or any other platform for that matter. But the reality is that you have a right to your speech. You do not have a right to the megaphone. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Parler, whatever platform you are choosing, that is a privately owned company that allows you to project your message, whatever it is. And I mean, here I'm using YouTube to project my message. But whatever platform it is that you're finding online, you're using that to project your message out further. You don't have a right to that megaphone, to that increased reach. Also, if you get fired from your job, and which has happened a lot, if you get fired from your job for the things you say, that is not a limitation of your freedom of speech. You are allowed to say it. You won't go to jail for saying it. But that does not mean that your boss needs to keep you on your job. You, in any way, shape, or form, act as a representative of the business that you work for. It doesn't matter if you are flipping burgers or if you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. What you say on social media, what you project out to the world is your message. And when you work for a company, you represent that company. Of course, everybody's decrying the cancel culture. And you know what? I'm going to give you credit on that one. I am not a huge fan of the current cancel culture and the way that it works. Even when it's against conservatives that I don't agree with. I don't believe in that. But there's a difference. There is a difference between being able to say what you want and being a monster. And that's the thing, you know, on my side of the aisle, right? But the liberals, the progressives, the Democrats, we are projecting a message of hope. We're trying to help everybody in society come up and have more opportunity, a better chance. We don't try to limit the availability of wealth or freedom of movement or any of these kind of things. Now, it could be demonized in a number of different ways, but at the end of the day, our message is one of hope and unity. Equal rights for all, fair wages for all, access to health care for all, access to education for all. I don't understand, for the life of me, I don't understand why it is such a point of conjecture of what is a good idea and what is a bad idea. Now, paying for it is different. I understand that. But we don't preach hate. We don't preach conflict. A protest and a fight for human rights, sure. A protest and possibly some public damage against police brutality, sure. But not insurrection. Not bombing of churches or armed assaults on temples or other forms of houses of worship. Insurrection. Storming the Capitol building. It's not the same thing. And so Curt Schilling, a baseball player, who chose to use his platform for political means, conservatives are applauding him, yet not Colin Kaepernick. So it's not about Curt Schilling's right to speak. It's because he agrees with conservatives. But again, it's not about them. And listen, I have no problem. I have no problem with Curt Schilling speaking his mind. Just like I have no problem with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee or any other professional player of any sport projecting their beliefs out there. I have no problem with that. I think everybody has a right to their opinions and their right to have their voice heard and to get their message out and all that kind of stuff. Everybody has a right to that. There are ramifications for it, though. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if you are a Donald Trump supporter, if you supported the insurrection at the Capitol, if you are a fan of the divisive nature of politics today and the way that this is being used to continue race wars and to continue religious wars, if you are a fan of all that, you know what? You're wrong. You're on the wrong side of history. And I have no concern about how you feel about what's happening. The right side of history right now is winning. We don't talk about that enough. Biden won. The two senators in Georgia won. We have Democrats in Georgia. Georgia went for Biden, and Georgia has 2 Democratic senators. Your bigotous, racist, tribalist, conservative Republican Party is losing because you are wrong. And I'm personally going to make it my goal. I'm still running for office this year. I'm going to make it my personal goal for people to understand, both at the local level where I am running as well as far as I can get my voice to reach, that the people, majority, not all, but the majority of the people that are still supporting the Republican Party are doing it for the wrong reason. They are under a spell. They have been bamboozled and lured into a ideal by propaganda, by lies, by misinformation, by trickery. And I'm going to make it my goal. I'm going to make it my goal to turn minds. I don't care if it's 1 or 1,000. I want to turn minds. My local congressman, John Katko from New York 24, he did a phone, I guess you would call it a phone town hall. They called my house and I answered the phone. I was able to listen to him. And he talked, actually, surprisingly very progressive views recently. But he was talking about, somebody had mentioned that Republicans need to be reprogrammed, or Trump supporters specifically need to be reprogrammed. And you know what? I'm going to agree with the fact that is dangerous language. That's what he said. However, the reality is that the majority of the Trump voters out there have been tricked and bamboozled. The constant fear-mongering of networks like Fox News or newspapers like the New York Post, where they tell half-truths and they lure people with clickbait headlines and articles that hide the truth later in the article, but will start out with incendiary opinion. Punditry on television from 6 p.m. on that tells opinion and stokes fear as opposed to just relating news. That is propaganda. And so these people have been tricked, and they do need to be deprogrammed. Probably not the right word. I would say they need to have their eyes opened up. They need to understand what it is that they really believe in. They also need to understand what we on the left, progressives and liberals, democratic socialists, what we really want for all of us. Because I think that message has been lost. And Curt Schilling, I mean, really, at the end of the day, you can go fuck yourself. Well, that's it for another episode of the Daily Octane. Thank you very much for watching. Hey, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. And like the video if you could. Also, right here on the screen right now are 2 links. One's to a recommended video, and the other one is a playlist of my daily videos that I've been posting over time. So thank you very much for watching today's episode of the Daily Octane, and I will catch you guys again tomorrow. Once again, have a great day and be safe.